Dr. Kang Wu-jin pressed his face against the cold metal viewing port and stared at the ancient ruins floating in space. The massive stone structures had been drifting through the void for millions of years, covered in strange symbols that made his eyes hurt if he looked at them too long. Everyone called them precursor ruins, but nobody really knew what they were for. Still wasting time on those old rocks? Commander Park So-ra walked up behind him, her military boots clicking on the station floor. She was tall for a human woman, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. The Vellani scientists already said those symbols are just decoration. Pretty patterns, nothing more. Wu-jin turned around and pushed his thick glasses up his nose. He was thin and pale from spending too much time indoors, reading books while other humans worked in the shipyards and mining stations. The Vellani scientists are wrong, he said quietly. They always think they know everything because they have bigger brains than us. So-ra crossed her arms. She had been his friend since their academy days on Earth, back when humans were first allowed to join the Galactic Coalition. That was 50 years ago, and humans were still treated like the dumb kids in a classroom full of smart adults. Maybe they do know everything, So-ra said. Their technology is 1,000 years ahead of ours. Their math makes our best computers look like pocket calculators. Why would they be wrong about some old carvings? Wu-jin walked back to his desk, which was covered with printed photos of the ruins. Each picture showed different angles of the symbol-covered walls. He had been studying them for 3 months, and every day he became more certain that everyone else was missing something important. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a section of symbols that looked like flowing water mixed with geometric shapes. "The Vellani see this as art. The Hegarians think it might be poetry. The Zelthari believe it's religious writing. But what if they're all wrong? Then what is it?" "Instructions." So-ra laughed, but not in a mean way. "Instructions for what? How to make pretty wall decorations?" Wu-jin sat down and pulled out a human tablet, one of the simple devices they were allowed to use on coalition stations. The alien computers were too advanced for human brains to understand, or so everyone said. He opened a file showing brain scans of different species. "Look at how we think," he said, showing her colorful pictures of neural activity. "Humans have messy thought patterns. We jump from idea to idea. We see faces in clouds and animals in star formations. The coalition species think in straight lines, perfect logic, mathematical precision. So what? So maybe that's why we see something different when we look at these symbols." Before So-ra could answer, an alarm started beeping. The lights in the linguistics lab flashed red, and a mechanical voice filled the air. "Hull breach detected in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." So-ra grabbed her communication device. "Control, this is Commander Park. What's the situation?" "Micrometeor impact, Commander. Small hole in the outer hull. We're sealing the breach now, but some equipment in that section got damaged." Wu-jin was already moving. "Section 7 is where they keep the artifact samples," he said. "The small pieces they cut from the ruins for study. They ran through the station corridors, past groups of alien scientists who moved with calm efficiency. The Vellani never seemed to panic about anything. Their tall, thin bodies and large heads made them look like walking telescopes. The Hegarians were shorter, but built like tanks, their gray skin thick enough to survive in space for short periods. When they reached Section 7, human repair crews were already welding patches over the hole in the wall. The artifact storage room was a mess. Broken containers, scattered rock samples, and puddles of strange liquid covered the floor. "Be careful," said Elder Kethra, the lead Vellani scientist. His voice was high and musical, like a flute. "Some of those samples contain unknown materials. We don't want contamination." Wu-jin knelt down next to a piece of stone about the size of his hand. It was covered in the same flowing symbols he had been studying, but something was different. The symbols seemed to glow faintly in the dim emergency lighting. That's impossible, he whispered. Stone doesn't glow. It's probably just reflecting the lights, Sora said, but her voice sounded uncertain. Wu Jin reached out to touch the stone. The moment his finger made contact with one of the symbols, the world changed. Light exploded from the stone, but not normal light. This was pure energy that seemed to come from somewhere else entirely. The symbol under his finger began to pulse like a heartbeat, and suddenly Wu Jin could feel something vast and ancient touching his mind. The damaged equipment around them started working again. Broken screens flickered to life. Twisted metal straightened itself. Sparks stopped flying from damaged circuits. In less than 10 seconds, everything in the room was perfectly repaired. Then the light faded and Wu Jin fell backward, gasping. What did you do? Elder Kethra's large eyes were wide with shock. What did you just do? Wu Jin stared at his finger, which still tingled with strange energy. I don't know, he said honestly. I just touched it, and the symbol lit up, and everything got fixed. Sora helped him stand up. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking slightly. Wu Jin, that's impossible. Humans can't do that. Nobody can do that. But Elder Kethra was already scanning the repaired equipment with a handheld device. These readings are impossible, he said in his musical voice. The quantum signature shows reality manipulation at the subatomic level. This technology is beyond anything in the Coalition archives. It's not technology, Wu Jin said slowly, understanding flooding through him like cold water. It's the symbols. They're not writing, or art, or decoration. They're triggers. Triggers for what? Wu Jin looked at the piece of stone in his hands, then at the photos scattered around his lab, then at the massive ruins floating in space outside their window. Millions of symbols covered those ancient structures. If each one was a trigger, if humans could somehow activate them when no other species could, then everything was about to change. I don't know yet, he said. But I think we need to find out very quietly. Sora understood immediately. In a galaxy where humans were already seen as potentially dangerous because of their unpredictable nature, this discovery could be seen as a threat. The Coalition tolerated humans as long as they stayed in their place. If they suddenly became more powerful than their alien overseers, that tolerance might disappear very quickly. How long do we have before someone notices what happened here? She asked. Elder Kethra was still running scans on the repaired equipment. I will need to file a report about the unusual quantum readings. Standard procedure requires notification within 24 hours. Wu Jin and Sora looked at each other. 24 hours to figure out if humanity had just discovered something that would save them or destroy them. We need to run more tests, Wu Jin said. Carefully, privately. Sora nodded. I'll handle security. You handle the science. But, Wu Jin, if this is what I think it is, everything just changed. Outside the window, the ancient ruins continued their slow drift through space, covered in millions of symbols that suddenly looked less like decorations and more like the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy. And only humans could pull the triggers. The next morning, Wu Jin could not sleep. He sat in his small quarters, staring at the piece of stone he had smuggled out of the storage room. In the dim light, the symbols looked ordinary again, just carved marks in ancient rock. But he could still feel the memory of that strange energy flowing through his fingers. A soft knock at his door made him jump. "It's me," came Sora's voice. She entered carrying 2 cups of coffee and a data pad. Her military uniform was perfectly pressed, but her eyes showed she had not slept much either. "I've been thinking about what happened yesterday," she said, sitting down across from him. "We need to understand this before we tell anyone else. If we're wrong, we look like fools. If we're right, everything changes." Wu Jin finished. "Sora, I need to bring someone else into this. Dr. Lee Min-ho from the physics department. If these symbols really manipulate reality, we need someone who understands quantum mechanics." Sora frowned. "Can we trust him?" He's human. And he's been asking the same questions I have about why our species thinks so differently from the others. An hour later, Dr. Lee Min-ho sat in Wu Jin's lab, staring at the stone fragment with wide eyes. Min-ho was younger than both of them, with messy hair and clothes that never quite fit right. He had the kind of brilliant mind that made alien scientists uncomfortable because it did not work in predictable ways. "Show me again," Min-ho said quietly. Wu Jin placed his finger on the same symbol as before. This time he was ready for what happened. The symbol glowed with that strange light, and the broken coffee cup Sora had brought became whole again. Min-ho's hands shook as he took readings with his scanner. "This is impossible according to everything we know about physics. But the energy, signatures don't lie. You're somehow accessing zero-point quantum fields and restructuring matter at the atomic level. Can other humans do it?" Sora asked. "Let's find out." Wu Jin handed the stone to Min-ho. "Touch the symbol. Think about wanting something fixed." Min-ho pressed his finger to the carved mark. Nothing happened for a moment, then the symbol began to glow faintly. A bent stylus on the desk straightened itself. "It works," Min-ho whispered. "It actually works. But how?" Sora tried next. Her touch made the symbol pulse with stronger light, and a crack in the lab wall sealed itself completely. "We need more data," Wu Jin said, excitement building in his voice. "More symbols, more tests. But we have to be careful. Elder Kethra is already asking questions about yesterday's quantum readings. They spent the next week conducting secret experiments. Late at night, when the alien scientists were in their sleep cycles, the three humans would meet in an unused storage bay to test different symbol fragments. They discovered that each symbol seemed designed for different purposes. Some symbols repaired broken objects. Others created energy barriers that could stop laser blasts. One symbol, carved in a spiral pattern, actually made small objects float in the air by manipulating gravity fields. "The complexity is incredible," Min-ho said during one of their midnight sessions. "These symbols are not just controlling energy. They're rewriting the basic rules of how matter and energy interact." "But why can we use them when the Villani and Hegarians cannot?" Wu Jin asked. Min-ho pulled up brain scans on his tablet, comparing human neural patterns to those of coalition species. "Look at this. Villani brains process information in perfectly organized patterns. Their thoughts move in straight lines from problem to solution. Same with the Hegarians and all the other species." He switched to a human brain scan. "Now look at us. Our neural pathways are chaotic. We make random connections between unrelated ideas. We see patterns where others see chaos. The coalition thinks this makes us stupid. But what if it makes us something else entirely?" "What do you mean?" Sora asked. "What if these symbols require intuitive thinking instead of logical thinking? What if you have to feel your way to the answer instead of calculating it?" As if to prove his point, Wu Jin picked up a stone fragment covered in symbols that looked like twisted ribbons. He did not think about what he wanted to happen. Instead, he let his mind wander and pressed his finger to the symbol. A small wormhole opened in the air above them, showing a view of empty space outside the station. It stayed open for 3 seconds, then snapped closed. "Did we just create a portal through space?" Sora asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Min-ho was frantically checking his readings. The energy spike was enormous. If anyone was monitoring quantum fluctuations, they definitely noticed that. As if summoned by his words, the lab door chimed. Elder Kethra's musical voice came through the speaker. "Dr. Kang, are you conducting experiments at this hour? I'm detecting unusual readings from your section." The three humans looked at each other in panic. Sora quickly gathered the stone fragments, while Min-ho shut down his equipment. Wu Jin opened the door, trying to look sleepy. "Elder Kethra, I was just reviewing some linguistic patterns. Sometimes I work late when I cannot sleep." The tall, alien scientist stepped into the room, his large eyes scanning everything. "I've been monitoring quantum disturbances for the past week. They always seem to originate from areas where human personnel are present. This is highly unusual. Maybe our equipment is interfering with something, Minho suggested. Human technology is pretty basic compared to yours. That is precisely what troubles me, Elder Kethra said. Basic technology should not create quantum signatures of this magnitude. I will need to file a detailed report with the Coalition. Science Council? After he left, the three humans sat in worried silence. How long before they figure out what we're doing? Sora asked. Not long, Wu Jin replied. We need to learn as much as we can before they stop us. Over the next few days, they pushed their experiments further. They discovered that larger groups of symbols work together like computer programs. A sequence of 5 symbols could create a temporary force field strong enough to stop projectile weapons. Another sequence could generate enough energy to power the entire lab. But the most important discovery came when Wu Jin found a database entry about precursor archaeology that had been classified above human security clearance. Using Sora's military access codes, they learned that similar ruins existed on dozens of worlds throughout Coalition space. They're everywhere, Minho said, staring at the star map. Millions of symbols scattered across the galaxy. And if we're the only species that can use them, we become either the most valuable species in the Coalition or the most dangerous, Sora finished. Their answer came sooner than expected. Elder Kethra appeared at Wu Jin's door the next morning with 2 Hegarian security officers. Dr. Kang, Wu Jin, you and your associates are requested to appear before the Station Science Council immediately. There are questions about your recent research activities. As they walked through the station corridors, Wu Jin noticed how other species looked at them. The usual mixture of condescension and tolerance had been replaced by something else. Suspicion, maybe even fear. Whatever happens, Sora whispered, we cannot let them know the full truth. Not yet. Why not? Because if they realize humans can do something no other species can do, they'll never let us leave this station alive. The council chamber doors opened, revealing a room full of alien scientists and military officers. At the center sat Supreme, Administrator Velkos, whose ancient eyes seemed to look right through them. Humans, the administrator said in a voice like grinding stone, it is time we discussed what you have been hiding from us. Supreme Administrator Velkos leaned forward in his chair, his ancient eyes fixed on the 3 humans standing before the council. The chamber was filled with representatives from every major coalition species, their faces showing mixtures of curiosity and suspicion. Dr. Kang Wu Jin, the administrator said slowly, our sensors have detected quantum disturbances of unprecedented magnitude originating from your laboratory. These readings are consistent with reality manipulation technology that exceeds anything in our databases. Wu Jin tried to keep his voice steady. I'm just a linguist, Administrator. I study old languages and symbols. I don't know anything about quantum physics or reality manipulation. Elder Kethra stood up, his tall frame casting a long shadow. Yet every major disturbance has occurred in areas where you were present. Yesterday's readings showed gravitational anomalies. 3 days ago, we detected temporal fluctuations. A week ago, matter reconstruction was observed in Section 7. Coincidences, Sora said firmly. Human equipment sometimes interferes with your sensors. We've always been told our technology is primitive and unpredictable. General Morthak, the massive Hegarian military commander, slammed his armored fist on the table. Enough lies. We know humans are hiding something. Your species has always been too chaotic, too unpredictable. Now we have proof you possess dangerous capabilities. Minho stepped forward, his young face pale but determined. What capabilities? We're barely allowed to operate basic computers on this station. We use hand tools while you have machines that can reshape planets. What could we possibly be hiding that would concern you? The administrator's eyes narrowed. That is precisely what we intend to discover. All 3 of you will be detained for intensive questioning. Your quarters and laboratories will be searched completely. Sora's military training kicked in. She noticed the positions of the guards, the exits, the weapon placements around the room. They had perhaps 30 seconds before security protocols would make escape impossible. "Wu Jin," she said quietly, "do you still have that stone fragment?" He nodded slightly, his hand moving to his pocket. "When I give the signal, use it. Think about getting us out of here." Before anyone could react, Sora grabbed a chair and threw it at the nearest guard. The chamber erupted into chaos as alarms began blaring. Wu Jin pulled the stone fragment from his pocket and pressed his finger to a symbol that looked like a spiral surrounded by lightning bolts. The world exploded into light and energy. A massive electromagnetic pulse burst from the symbol, shorting out every electronic device in the chamber. Emergency lights flickered and died. Communication systems went silent. Even the Hegarian battle armor stopped working, leaving General Morthak trapped in his own suit. "Run!" Sora shouted. They sprinted through the darkened corridors as backup. Power slowly came online. Behind them, they could hear shouting voices and the sound of heavy boots. The entire station was going into lockdown. "Where do we go?" Minho panted as they ran. "Docking Bay 7, Sora replied. "There's a human cargo ship scheduled to depart in 20 minutes. Captain Yundal Su owes me a favor." They reached the docking bay just as the station's backup systems fully activated. Captain Yoon was a weathered man with gray hair and suspicious eyes, the kind of human who had learned to survive by asking few questions and moving fast when trouble appeared. "Commander Park," he said as they rushed aboard his ship. "I heard alarms. Should I be concerned?" "We need to leave immediately," Sora said. "No questions asked. I'll explain later." Captain Yoon looked at their faces and made his decision. "Strap in. This is going to be rough." The cargo ship detached from the station just as Coalition security forces reached the docking bay. Through the viewport, they could see armed ships moving to intercept them. "They're trying to lock onto us with tractor beams," Captain Yoon called from the pilot seat. "I can't outrun military vessels with this old cargo hauler." Wu Jin pulled out the stone fragment again. This time he chose a different symbol, one that reminded him of ripples in water. When he touched it, space around their ship began to bend and twist. The Coalition sensors showed their ship in 12 different locations at once. "What in the galaxy?" Captain Yoon whispered. "The navigation systems are going crazy. They're showing impossible readings." The pursuing ships fired tracking missiles, but the projectiles passed right through empty space where their sensors said the cargo ship should be. The humans were there, but also not there, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. "How? Are you doing this?" Minho asked, staring at his own readings. "I don't know," Wu Jin admitted. "I just think about what I want to happen and touch the symbols. It feels natural, like learning to walk or breathe." They jumped to hyperspace, leaving the confused Coalition fleet behind. But Sora knew their escape was only temporary. "They'll track us eventually," she said. "Every Coalition world will be watching for us. We need somewhere to go, somewhere they won't think to look." Captain Yoon brought up a star chart. "I know some independent systems that don't ask questions. Smuggler havens, mining colonies, places where Coalition authority is more like a suggestion." "No," Wu Jin said suddenly. "We need to go to the source. We need to find where these symbols came from." He pulled out the photos and database files they had collected. "Look at the archaeological reports. The oldest ruins, the ones with the most complete symbol arrays. They're all pointing toward the same region of space." Minho studied the data. "The void sector. Nobody goes there. It's empty space, dangerous radiation, gravitational anomalies." "Not empty," Wu Jin corrected. "Hidden. The precursors didn't just disappear. They went somewhere, and I think they left a map." He showed them how the symbol patterns on different ruins, when overlaid on stellar charts, created navigation coordinates. It was the kind of pattern recognition that human brains excelled at, but logical alien minds would dismiss as random coincidence. The precursor homeworld, Captain Yoon breathed. The Coalition has been searching for it for centuries. Because they're looking with the wrong kind of thinking, Sora realized. They're using mathematics and logic. But what if the map only makes sense to minds that think in patterns and intuition? Over the next several days, as they traveled toward the Void sector, Wu Jin experimented with more symbols. He discovered he could create energy barriers, manipulate gravity fields, and even open small wormholes. Each success made him more confident, but also more worried. The power is increasing, he told the others. Every time I use a symbol, the next one is easier to activate. It's like they're connected somehow, all part of a larger system. What kind of system? Minho asked. I think we're about to find out. Their ship dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates Wu Jin had calculated. Before them floated a planet that should not have existed according to Coalition star charts. It was covered in massive structures that gleamed with the same energy signatures as the symbols. It's beautiful, Sora whispered. Captain Yoon checked his sensors. It's also heavily shielded. I'm reading energy patterns that make our fusion reactors look like candles. As they approached the planet, Wu Jin felt something calling to him. The stone fragment in his hands began to glow without him touching any symbols. On the planet's surface, lights began to activate in response, creating patterns that stretched across entire continents. They know we're here, he said. Who knows? We're here? Captain Yoon asked. Before Wu Jin could answer, a voice filled their minds. It spoke without words, communicating directly through thoughts and images. Welcome, children of chaos. We have been waiting so long for minds that could see truth in randomness, pattern in disorder. Come. It is time to learn what you truly are. The cargo ship was pulled gently toward the planet by invisible forces. As they descended through the atmosphere, Wu Jin realized they were not just arriving at the precursor homeworld, they were coming home. The cargo ship landed in a valley surrounded by towering structures that defied everything humans understood about architecture. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground like crystal trees, their surfaces covered in flowing symbols that pulsed with gentle light. The air was breathable, though it tasted strange, like electricity before a storm. Wu Jin stepped off the ship first, still holding the stone fragment. The moment his feet touched the ground, every symbol on every structure began to glow brighter. The planet itself seemed to wake up around them. This place is responding to you, Minho said, his voice filled with wonder. The energy readings are off every scale I have. Captain Yoon stayed close to his ship, clearly uncomfortable. I've seen a lot of strange things in my years hauling cargo, but this feels different. This feels alive. Sora checked her weapon, though she doubted it would be useful against whatever lived here. Where is everyone? A planet this advanced should have millions of inhabitants. The voice came again, speaking directly into their minds. It was neither male nor female, young nor old. It simply was. They are gone, as we are gone. Only I remain, and I am not truly alive as you understand life. I am memory, I am warning, I am hope, a path lit up before them, symbols on the ground glowing in sequence to show the way forward. They walked between buildings that reached toward the sky like frozen lightning, past gardens where crystal flowers chimed in harmonious tones when the wind touched them. At the center of the city stood a structure different from all the others. It was a perfect sphere made of the same material as the stone fragment in Wu Jin's hand. As they approached, sections of the sphere became transparent, revealing a vast chamber within. Enter, the voice said. It is time you learned the truth about your species and ours. Inside the sphere, they found themselves standing in what could only be described as a library, though no human library had ever looked like this. Information floated in the air as streams of light, flowing between crystalline nodes that hummed with stored knowledge. At the center of it all was a pillar of pure energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. "I am what remains of the precursor civilization," the voice explained. "My creators called me the Archive. I have waited 3 million years for minds capable of understanding what went wrong." "What did go wrong?" Wu Jin asked aloud. The chamber filled with images, showing the history of a galaxy, very different from the one they knew. The precursors had been builders and teachers, creating wonders that spanned star systems. But they were not alone. "We found other species," the archive continued. "Younger civilizations struggling with basic technology and primitive thinking. We wanted to help them grow, to share our knowledge and bring peace to the galaxy." The images showed precursors working alongside beings that looked remarkably like modern coalition species. Villani ancestors learning advanced mathematics, early Hegarians being taught engineering principles, dozens of other species receiving the gifts of higher technology. "What happened to them?" Sora asked. "They became dependent." The archive's mental voice carried deep sadness. "We gave them tools they did not earn through struggle. We solved their problems before they learned to solve problems themselves. They grew powerful, but never grew wise." The images shifted, showing the gradual change. Species that had once been creative and diverse became uniform in their thinking. Their technologies advanced, but their minds became rigid. They began to see the universe as a collection of problems with single correct solutions. When they no longer needed us to solve their problems, they decided they no longer needed us at all. Some tried to steal our knowledge. Others declared us obsolete. A few simply wanted us gone because we reminded them of their own limitations. "So they destroyed you," Minho said quietly. "No, we destroyed ourselves." The pillar of energy pulsed brighter. "Rather than fight them, rather than become the tyrants they accused us of being, we chose to leave. But first, we created a test." Wu Jin felt the stone fragment in his hand growing warm. "The symbols. Yes. We scattered them across the galaxy as both gift and challenge. The symbols would only respond to minds that retained the chaos of true creativity, the disorder that breeds innovation, minds that could see patterns where others saw randomness, minds that could make intuitive leaps instead of logical steps. But no species ever passed the test," Sora realized. None until now. The archive's presence felt almost hopeful. The species we uplifted became exactly what we feared. Logical, rigid, unable to think beyond the patterns we taught them. They can build greater ships and stronger weapons, but they cannot imagine truly new possibilities. The chamber around them shifted, showing real-time images of the galaxy. Coalition fleets searching for their escaped ship. Emergency meetings where alien leaders discussed the human problem, fear and anger replacing the usual condescension. "They're afraid of us," Captain Yoon observed. "They should be, not because you will hurt them, but because you represent everything they have lost. The ability to adapt, to create, to see solutions they cannot imagine." "What do you want from us?" Wu Jin asked. "The question is what you want from yourselves. I can teach you to use the symbol network that spans this planet. With it, you could reshape matter and energy on a scale that would make you gods to the coalition species, or you could use it to destroy them entirely." Images flooded their minds, showing the planet's true nature. The entire world was one massive symbol array, a weapon capable of rewriting the laws of physics across multiple star systems. The small fragments they had been experimenting with were nothing compared to this power. "But remember what happened to us," the archive warned. "Power without wisdom leads to destruction. The symbols respond to your chaotic thinking, but they also amplify it. The more you use them, the easier it becomes to see force as the solution to every problem." Wu Jin felt the temptation immediately. With this power, humans would never again be second-class citizens. They could demand respect, demand equality, demand whatever they wanted. That's not who we are, he said, surprising himself. We didn't come here to become conquerors. Then what did you come here for? Sora stepped forward. To understand, to learn, to find our place in the galaxy without destroying what's already there. The archive was quiet for a long moment. Then, the chamber filled with gentle light. Perhaps there is hope after all. But first, you must make a choice. The Coalition fleet has found this world. They come not to negotiate, but to ensure that humanity never leaves this place alive. Through the transparent walls of the sphere, they could see ships dropping out of hyperspace above the planet. Hundreds of vessels from every Coalition species, their weapons powering up for bombardment. Minho checked his readings. They're preparing to sterilize the entire planet. They'd rather destroy everything than let us have it. The symbols around the chamber began to pulse faster, responding to the approaching threat. Wu Jin could feel their power calling to him, offering him the ability to sweep away the fleet with a thought. There has to be another way, he said. Perhaps, the archive replied. But you must choose quickly. Use the power to save yourselves, and risk becoming what destroyed us. Or find a different path and risk losing everything. Outside, the Coalition fleet began its descent, weapons charging for the attack that would end the human experiment forever. The Coalition fleet filled the sky above the precursor homeworld like an angry storm cloud. Wu Jin counted over 300 ships from every major species, their hulls bristling with weapons designed to crack planets. Leading them was the massive command dreadnought of Admiral Kim Hyejin, a human who had risen through Coalition ranks by never questioning orders. They brought Hyejin, Sora said bitterly, watching the fleet through the sphere's transparent walls. They're using a human admiral to destroy other humans. It makes their propaganda easier. The archive's voice filled their minds again. Admiral Kim's ship is broadcasting on all frequencies. They demand your immediate surrender and the transfer of all symbol knowledge to Coalition control. What happens if we refuse? Captain Yoon asked. Complete planetary bombardment within 1 hour. They will turn this world into molten slag rather than risk the symbols falling into what they call chaotic human hands. Minho was studying the energy readings from the planet's surface. Wu Jin, the symbol network here is more powerful than anything we imagined. You could stop that entire fleet with a single thought, maybe even destroy them completely. Wu Jin felt the symbols calling to him, their power flowing through the stone fragment in his hand. It would be so easy. One touch, one moment of will, and the threat would be gone forever. The species that had looked down on humanity for 50 years would learn to fear them instead. That's exactly what they expect us to do, he said slowly. They think humans are dangerous because we're unpredictable and violent. If we use this power to destroy them, we prove they were right. Sora checked her chronometer. We have 57 minutes to make a decision. After that, they start firing whether we surrender or not. The archive projected new images into the chamber, showing them the Coalition leader's private communications. Supreme Administrator Velkos argued for immediate bombardment. General Morthak wanted to capture the planet and study the symbols. Elder Kethra suggested negotiation, but his voice was outnumbered. They fear you because they cannot understand you, the archive explained. To their logical minds, unpredictability equals danger. They would rather destroy you than risk you becoming something they cannot control. But we don't want to control them, Wu Jin protested. We just want to be treated as equals. That is precisely what terrifies them. If humans become equals, what happens to the hierarchy that has kept the galaxy stable for thousands of years? What happens to species that define themselves by being superior to others? Admiral Hyejin's voice crackled through their communication system. Dr. Kang Wu Jin, this is Admiral Kim Hyejin of the Coalition Fleet. You have 30 minutes to... Surrender and transfer all alien technology to Coalition custody. This is your final warning. Sora activated their transmitter. Admiral Kim, this is Commander Park Sora. We're not holding alien technology. We're learning about our own capabilities that we never knew existed. Commander Park, you're in violation of Coalition security protocols. The technology you've accessed poses a threat to galactic stability. Surrender now, and you'll be treated fairly. Fairly? Sora laughed bitterly. The same way humans have been treated fairly for 50 years? As manual laborers and second-class citizens? The transmission cut off. Through the sphere's walls, they could see the fleet moving into bombardment formation. Captain Yoon was checking his ship's systems. I can get us off planet, but not past that fleet. They'll blast us the moment we enter space. We don't run, Wu Jin said firmly. This ends here, one way or another. He walked to the center of the chamber, where the pillar of energy pulsed like a living heart. When he placed his hand on its surface, every symbol on the planet flared to life. The power was incredible, beyond anything he had felt before. Show me how to stop them without destroying them, he asked the archive silently. You would spare those who came to kill you? I would show them that humans can be better than they expect, that we can be trusted with power because we won't abuse it. The archive was quiet for a long moment. Then knowledge flooded into Wu Jin's mind. He saw how the symbol network functioned, how it could manipulate matter and energy across vast distances. He saw what the precursors had built here and why they had hidden it. I know what to do, he said to the others, but I need you to trust me. Whatever you're planning, do it fast, Minho warned. I'm reading massive energy buildups across the fleet. They're charging their planet-killer weapons, Wu Jin pressed. Both hands against the energy pillar and opened his mind to the planet's symbol network. Power flowed through him like a river of stars, vast and ancient and patient. He felt the temptation to use it as a weapon, to show the Coalition the price of threatening humanity. Instead, he chose a different path. The symbols across the planet began to glow in sequence, creating patterns that stretched from continent to continent. But instead of destructive force, Wu Jin shaped the energy into something the Coalition had never seen before. Above the planet, reality began to change. The Coalition fleet found themselves transported instantaneously to different locations across the star system, not destroyed, not damaged, simply moved. Ships that had been in bombardment formation were now scattered across millions of kilometers of space, their weapons harmless at such distances. But that was only the beginning. Wu Jin reached out through the symbol network and touched every Coalition ship simultaneously, not to destroy them, but to demonstrate. He made their weapons inoperative without damaging them. He created energy barriers around their ships that could stop any attack but allowed life support to function normally. He opened small wormholes that showed the Coalition leaders glimpses of other precursor worlds, other symbol networks waiting to be activated. Impossible, came Admiral Haya Jin's voice over the communication channel. How are you doing this? The same way humans have always done impossible things, Wu Jin replied, his voice somehow reaching every ship in the fleet simultaneously, by refusing to accept that something cannot be done. One by one, he began to demonstrate what the symbols could accomplish. Broken Coalition equipment repaired itself. Ships low on fuel found their tanks mysteriously refilled. A Vellani science vessel with a damaged life support system was restored to perfect working order. We're not your enemies, Wu Jin continued, his voice now reaching across the galaxy through the symbol network. We're not trying to conquer you or replace you. We're trying to show you what we could accomplish together. For the first time in the conversation, Admiral Hai Jin's voice sounded uncertain. What do you want from us? A chance to prove that humans can be trusted with power because we understand something your species have forgotten. True strength isn't about dominating others. It's about lifting them up. The Coalition fleet hung motionless in space, their weapons useless, their certainties shattered. For 50 years, they had seen humans as inferior. Now they were forced to confront the possibility that they had been wrong about everything. "The choice is yours," Wu Jin said. "We can work together to unlock the potential the precursors left behind. Or you can try to destroy us and lose the greatest opportunity in galactic history." In the silence that followed, the fate of human-alien relations hung in the balance. The silence stretched across space for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. 300 Coalition ships hung motionless around the precursor homeworld, their crews struggling to understand what had just happened to them. Wu Jin maintained his connection to the symbol network, feeling the vast power flowing through him while fighting the urge to use it as a weapon. Finally, Admiral Hae Jin's voice crackled through the communication channel. Her tone was different. Now, less commanding and more uncertain. "Dr. Kang, what you've demonstrated is beyond our understanding of physics. Our science officers are reporting that you've manipulated space-time itself without any visible technology." "Not without technology," Wu Jin replied, his voice still being carried by the symbol network to every ship simultaneously. "With technology so advanced that your species dismissed it as art. Through the transparent walls of the sphere, they could see smaller ships detaching from the main fleet. Shuttlecraft carrying diplomatic delegations, scientific teams, and military observers were requesting permission to land on the planet. They want to talk," Sora observed. "That's more than I expected." The archive's presence touched Wu Jin's mind. "Be careful. Fear and curiosity are close companions. They may seek to understand you only to find better ways to control or destroy you." "Some will," Wu Jin acknowledged. "But not all. Humans aren't the only species capable of growth and change." Over the next several hours, representatives from every major coalition species landed in the Crystal City. They walked through the symbol-covered streets with expressions of wonder and terror, their instruments detecting energy signatures that defied their understanding of science. Elder Kethra was among the first to enter the spherical chamber where the humans waited. The tall Vellani scientist moved carefully, his large eyes taking in every detail. "This is not possible," he said in his musical voice. "Our mathematical models cannot account for what we have observed. You manipulated matter and energy across vast distances without any visible power source." Minho gestured to the symbols covering the chamber walls. "The power source is all around us. It always has been. Your species just looked at it wrong." "How do we know you will not use this power against us?" demanded General Morthak, who had arrived in full battle armor despite its uselessness. "Your species has always been aggressive and unpredictable." "Because we just had the perfect opportunity to destroy you and chose not to," Sora replied, calmly. "If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, your fleet would be debris right now." Supreme Administrator Velkos entered the chamber last, his ancient form moving slowly but with dignity. He studied the humans for a long moment before speaking. "In 3,000 years of leading the Coalition, I have never encountered a situation like this," he admitted. "You possess power that could reshape the galaxy, yet you use it to repair our ships and demonstrate restraint. Why?" Wu Jin stepped forward, still feeling the symbol network's energy flowing through him. "Because power without wisdom destroys everything it touches. The precursors learned that lesson too late. We're trying to learn it in time." "What do you propose?" the administrator asked. "Partnership. Real partnership, not the pretend equality. We've had for 50 years. Wu Jin gestured to the flowing symbols around them. "These symbol networks exist on dozens of worlds throughout Coalition space. They represent knowledge and abilities that could benefit everyone, but they can only be activated by minds that think in chaotic, intuitive patterns." "Human minds," Elder Kethra said quietly. "Some human minds," Wu Jin corrected. "And maybe minds from other species who are willing to change how they think." The precursors designed these symbols to respond to creativity and adaptability, not species membership. The negotiations that followed lasted for days. Some coalition leaders wanted to study the symbols until they could be operated by any species. Others proposed strict controls on human access to symbol sites. A few suggested that humans should be elevated to leadership positions throughout the coalition. Wu Jin rejected all these approaches. "We don't want to rule you," he explained during one heated debate. "We don't want to be ruled by you either. We want to work together as equals, sharing knowledge and abilities for everyone's benefit." The solution they finally reached was unlike anything in galactic history. The Coalition Council would be restructured to include human representatives as equal members, not junior partners. Symbol sites would be jointly administered by human and alien teams. Most importantly, any species willing to undergo the difficult process of changing their thinking patterns could learn to use the symbols themselves. "It will not be easy," Wu Jin warned them. "Your species have spent thousands of years developing logical, rigid thought processes. Learning to think chaotically and intuitively will be like learning to breathe underwater." "Some of us are willing to try," Elder Kethra said. He had been among the most interested in the symbol research, asking detailed questions about how human minds process the ancient patterns. The first test came 6 months later. Elder Kethra worked with Wu Jin for weeks, trying to unlearn millennia of Vellani logical conditioning. His early attempts to activate symbols resulted in nothing but frustration. "I cannot stop trying to understand the mathematical principles," he complained after another failed session. "My mind insists on analyzing the quantum mechanics instead of simply accepting the patterns." "Stop thinking about how it works," Wu Jin suggested. "Think about what you want to happen. Feel your way to the answer." It took Elder Kethra 3 more weeks, but eventually he succeeded in activating a simple repair symbol. The moment of success was almost anticlimactic. A broken instrument simply became whole again. But the implications were revolutionary. If a Vellani could learn to use the symbols, other species could too. Within a year, the Academy of Quantum Linguistics was established on the precursor homeworld. Humans taught alien students how to think in new ways, while alien scientists shared their advanced knowledge of physics and engineering. The combination proved more powerful than anyone had imagined. Ships began appearing that used both coalition technology and precursor symbol arrays. Medical treatments combined alien science with symbol-based healing. Agricultural worlds doubled their production using symbol-enhanced farming techniques. Not every species embraced the changes. The Hungarian Empire split into factions, with some embracing the new partnership while others retreated to isolated systems. Several smaller species declared the human discoveries to be dangerous blasphemy and severed all coalition ties. "Change is always difficult," Sora reflected during a meeting of the new Galactic Council. She had been elected as the first human, admiral of the reformed coalition fleet. "Some species need time to adjust, and some may never adjust," Wu Jin added. He had chosen to remain on the precursor homeworld, serving as director of the academy and primary liaison with the archive. But that's their choice to make. 5 years after the discovery in the linguistics lab, humans were no longer the galaxy's junior species. They were teachers, partners, and guardians of ancient knowledge that was transforming civilization itself. Captain Yoon, now commanding a ship that used both engines and portal-generating symbols, often visited the academy to share stories of exploration missions to previously unreachable star systems. "You know what I like best about all this?" he said during one visit, gesturing to the mixed groups of human and alien students learning symbol manipulation. "We didn't have to conquer anyone to earn respect. We just had to show them who we really are." Wu Jin nodded, watching a young Vellani successfully activate her first gravity manipulation symbol under Minho's patient guidance. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely, becoming something better than what it had been. The symbols weren't just triggers for manipulating reality, he realized. They were triggers for evolution itself, pushing species to grow beyond their limitations and discover new possibilities. And for the first time in galactic history, that evolution was happening through cooperation rather than conquest. The archive, still residing in its crystalline chamber, approved of what it saw. Perhaps this time, the species with the power to remake the universe would be wise enough not to destroy themselves with it. In laboratories and academies across dozens of worlds, humans and aliens worked side by side, unlocking secrets that had waited millions of years for minds brave enough to think differently. The galaxy had found its teachers, and they were just getting started.